Well, tomorrow is, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I'd like for us to take a moment now to think about the unity that he had so much faith in this world. I'd be preaching to the choir if I dwelled too much on this idea of unity here at our Unity, because I know that we all totally embrace the idea, and we certainly do walk the talk here. We include in our hearts members of every creed, race, sex, and political belief, because we know that we are all one in God. We're one family. We do need, however, to think about unity because our beloved country is not unified right now. Political, race, and religious differences, we all can see, are creating a split in our nation that we must repair. So let's have a moment of silence and imagine, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr., our nation, one nation, unified and strong, like Dr. King had so much faith in. Faith. Faith is one of the 12 powers that Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore taught us exist in each one of us. At our Christmas service, those of you who were here may remember, we lighted 12 candles up here. Each one represented one of the 12 powers. They are faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, release, and life. Faith is the power that we commemorate in January at Unity because faith is the very cornerstone of our spiritual life. To illustrate the idea of faith, I'd like to share with you a poem by James Dillot Freeman, who I call the Unity Poet Laureate. A lot of people do. He entitled this poem, I Am There, but I have always thought of the title as Faith, and it really illustrates what I'd like for us to think about today. See if you agree. Do you need me? I am there. You cannot see me, yet I am the light that you see by. You cannot hear me, yet I speak through your voice. You cannot feel me, yet I am the power at work in your hands. I am at work, though you do not understand my ways. I am at work, though you do not recognize my works. I am not strange visions. I am not mysterious. Only in absolute stillness, beyond self, can you know me as I am, and then but as a feeling and a faith. Yet I am here, yet I hear, yet I answer. When you need me, I am there. Even if you deny me, I am there. Even when you feel most alone, I am there. Even in your fears, I am there. Even in your pain, I am there. I am there when you pray and when you do not pray. I am in you and you are in me. Only in your mind can you feel separate from me. For only in your mind are the mists of yours and mine. Yet only with your mind can you know me and experience me. Empty your heart of empty fears. When you get yourself out of the way, I am there. You can of yourself do nothing, but I can do all, and I am in all. Though you may not see the good, good is there, for I am there. I am there because I have to be, because I am. Only in me does the world have meaning. Only out of me does the world take form. Only because of me does the world go forward. I am the law on which the movement of the stars and the growth of living cells are founded. I am the love that is the law's fulfilling. I am assurance. I am peace. I am oneness. I am the law that you live by. I am the love that you can cling to. I am your assurance. I am your peace. I am one with you. I am, though you fail to find me, I do not fail you. Though your faith in me is unsure, my faith in you never wavers, because I know you, because I love you. Beloved, I am there. We hear it said a lot that we would do well to let go and let God in every way. This is certainly an act of faith. But what exactly does that really mean? What does it look like to let go and let God and have faith? Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, was strongly influenced by the Transcendental movement in America, which led him on a spiritual search that in turn led him to Eastern spirituality. The world did not understand Eastern ideas in 1890. So Fillmore integrated them with the Christianity of America at that time. And he created the 12-power system as a tool for soul growth, which incorporated and joined his East-West studies. These 12 powers are now mainstream. I'm sure you all see them everywhere in such practices as yoga and meditation and modern psychology. But in the 1800s, they were unique and avant-garde spiritual tools for creating a life that is, as the Apostle Paul said, no longer a storm tossed by difficulties, suffering, and challenges. These ideas were not new, even at the time, of course. They were seen in the esoteric Christianity teachings. Jesus taught them to the people who could understand. They were the esoteric teachings of the times. What was new when Fillmore taught them was the idea that with practice, these inherent spiritual capacities that are in all of us could mature and become the very foundation for developing our fullest human potential. And a lot in the human potential movement drew from these ideas. Unity says that this first power, the January power of faith, the ability to believe, intuit, and perceive, was primarily brought about by, or started by, the affirmation that is often used: faith blesses me, faith blesses my day, and paves my way. Shortened version: faith blesses my day and paves my way. Let's all repeat that. Faith blesses my day and paves my way. Faith blesses my day and paves my way. In Mark 11, it says, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours." This is the true meaning of faith. Knowing that what you believe is true. Now, I am not talking about blind faith and the ideas of someone else. Oh, I don't really believe it, but I should have faith in it. That is not what is being talked about here. I'm talking about what we can verify in our lives. We have faith in an acorn that it will become an oak tree, don't we? Why? Because we've seen it happen. We don't have to have blind faith. We have faith in that, but we've got faith because we've seen it happen. We have faith that we will get better at playing the piano when we practice because we've verified that. By the same token, anyone who has ever lived by the eternal laws that we talk about constantly here, like love, forgiveness, peace, compassion, we have then verified how much better life is. Thus, we have faith in the eternal laws, like the acorn becoming the oak tree. We know it's true. We don't have to have blind faith. Jesus' healings were achieved because those who asked for the healings had faith. They believed in Christ's power. It was their faith that healed them, just as it is our faith in a higher order of life, a higher order of living that heals us. We often need healing when we live by the laws of the ego. Just everything centers around us, our programming, our getting triggered, our wants and desires about the way the world should be, people should act. When we live that way, it's egocentric, selfish, competitive, judgmental, and non-forgiving beings, we create problems. That way of living creates a lot of strife for us, stress, and suffering. We can certainly have faith in that because we've all seen what happens when we live that way. I'm sure we've all experienced it. Jesus, the Christ, said, "Truly, I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed and can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." Faith is the belief in that which is not seen with the physical eyes. So how do we gain that faith? We can do what Buddha taught. Verify, verify, verify for ourselves. Turn your life over to God, and you will see. You will absolutely verify for yourself. You won't need blind faith at that point because you will start manifesting heaven on earth, which heals you, like Jesus Christ healed the sick and raised the dead in the stories. Many of us have been spiritually sick or dead at times. That's what the Bible's talking about, is us. And our faith in a higher level of life, our inner Christ, has healed us and brought us back to life, just like the characters in the Bible. That's the point of all those stories of Jesus' healings and bringing people back to life. Faith is what healed and resurrected them. Faith in our inner Christ will heal and resurrect us. That's the metaphysical meaning of these stories. Or maybe we don't, for some reason, have faith. We don't always have faith all the time. Maybe during the dark night of the soul period of our lives, we don't have faith. Even then, as Freeman's poem said, "Though you fail to find me, I do not fail you. Though your faith in me is unsure, my faith in you never wavers, because I know you, because I love you. Beloved, I am there." God or circumstances often help the faith process along during those dark nights of the soul that I'll bet we've all had at one time or another. Remember the story of Jonah and the whale? Does everybody know that story? Okay, great. Jonah was a prophet, you remember, who was preaching the truth to the Israelites. One day God called Jonah and told him to go preach in Nineveh, because these people were very wicked and they needed his guidance. Instead of following God's command, though, Jonah let his ego make the decision. His ego hated God's idea because Nineveh was one of Israel's greatest enemies, and Jonah wanted nothing to do with preaching to those people. So Jonah ran away from God and headed to the town of Joppa. He then climbed aboard a boat that was headed to Tarshish. But the story said that God saw Jonah get on that ship, and he punished Jonah for not obeying him. God sent a huge storm that was about to sink the ship. The sailors on the boat knew that God was just angry at Jonah, so they decided to just throw him overboard, get rid of him, in order to maybe stop the storm. Sure enough, as soon as they tossed Jonah overboard into the water, the storm stopped. But then God saved Jonah anyway. He sent a big whale, remember, that swallowed him and thus kept him from drowning. While in the belly of the big whale for 3 days, Jonah's ego was helpless and worthless. He had absolutely no control over his life then. Talk about a dark night of the soul. That's what happens during the dark night of the soul sometimes. We just lose control of our lives. But while Jonah was in the belly of the whale, God took control, and Jonah repented. In the belly of that fish, Jonah was forced to face his choices and the result of them, which was a whole lot of suffering. How often does that happen to us? We are all Jonah at times. We don't follow the higher order of laws, the eternal laws, and we bring storms into our lives. And often, even though we bring about the storms by what we do, God will send us a whale to protect us, maybe in the form of the dark night of the soul, which helps us really stop and reflect and think about what we've done, which turns out to be our opportunity, grist for the mill, to reflect and change the direction of our lives, not just suffer through it, but use it like everything. We're taught at Unity to use every situation, even suffering and the dark night of the soul, to grow. Finally, God had the whale throw Jonah up onto the shores of Nineveh. This time, Jonah followed God's will, and he preached to the people. Now, I don't have much faith that there was ever a literal whale or Jonah, but the allegory is totally true. The Bible is totally true, every word of it. Maybe not literally, but it's true for us. Every character in there is part of our psyche. So it's true for us because we're often like Jonah, and we bring about storms in our lives. And we too are often saved, like by a whale or something, but we sure suffer a lot and unnecessarily in the process. Why not just spare ourselves of all this suffering and live right in the first place? The Gospels say that nothing is impossible to us if we have faith. When the disciples failed to cure the epileptic boy, you remember, and then they asked why they couldn't heal him, Jesus said, "Because of your little faith." He went on to say, "O ye faithless and perverse generation." In Greek, perverse means turning in many different directions. Thus, being faithless is linked with turning in many different directions. That is, never knowing where we're going. In ordinary life, we often don't know which direction we're going in. One moment we believe in one thing and we go in one direction. Then something happens, we read a book or we see a movie, meet someone or read someone or get exposed to something on social media, and we go in another direction, often the opposite. Now, in the story, the epileptic boy that the disciples could not cure was going in all directions. First, remember, he went into the fire, then he went into the water. He was going in all different directions. The clues, the esoteric clues are there. In Greek, the word epileptic means struck by the moon or insane. People going in many different directions. It's interesting because it's the same in French. A lot of you know French. Lune, moon, loon, lunatic, crazy. Lunatic means being blown around as by the wind. Now that wind means whatever fashion, fad, or fantasy is popular that day. Faith means the opposite. It's going consistently in one direction. Thus, it's getting to the destination. Our faith then becomes stronger because we have verification in the process. Like when we follow a good recipe and we produce a good souffle. By the same token, in the spiritual domain, when we work toward accessing our inner 12 powers, we achieve them. Then we don't have to have blind faith. We've manifested them on the physical plane. So it's up to us to follow God's will or the eternal laws, whatever we want to say, or not. We have free will. Will we love and forgive and have compassion and judge not and work toward a sense of unity with all life? Or will we refuse and find ourselves like Jonah, dealing with the storms of life's circumstances that we have created in our lives? If we choose to live for a time by our ego wants, we may eventually be saved also by a metaphorical whale like Jonah, but why not just save ourselves the aggravation and live better now? Metaphysically, that's what the story of Jonah and the whale means. It's the same story that is told throughout the Bible and all spiritual literature. We humans have the chance to live by higher laws than those of the material or lower planes. If we don't live by them, we create all kinds of pain and suffering for ourselves, like the storm that Jonah brought on. We make ourselves sick, like the epileptic boy symbolized, or we spiritually die, like Lazarus, who Jesus brought back to life. When we finally do gain faith in a higher level of life, symbolized by Jesus Christ in these stories, they had faith in Jesus Christ, this faith saves us. So why not just avoid the pain and live by the rules of God's peace, love, forgiveness, compassion, and understanding before we bring on trouble for ourselves? Surely we all know by now what happens when we aren't loving and forgiving and when we don't live in a state of unity with others. We end up mad or sad or stressed or fearful. That's when life is suffering. We create circumstances for ourselves that make us suffer. Then everything crashes and we lose our faith. Faith is knowing that higher laws, our inner Christ exists, and then choosing to live by them. When we manifest that higher level of reality on the physical plane, and we're thus able to have true faith in it because we see the results. We then know that the acorn will become an oak tree and not a petunia. Now that is true faith. Look at people's lives who live by the eternal laws of love, righteousness, compassion, and unity, things work out. They don't bring on the storms of life like Jonah. They know how to sail right through in a state of peace and love and joy. Life still happens, of course, but they don't create messes, competitive relationships, and stressful situations. Situations arise for all of us, but they seem to just glide through them, the people who are living by those higher laws. And when they are human sometimes, as we all are, and they slip, like the ones Christ had to heal or bring back to life, metaphorically speaking, they have faith in their inner Christ, these higher laws. So they're healed. All these stories are our story. We are sometimes spiritually sick or dead ourselves, like the epileptic boy and Lazarus. But through our faith in the Christ part of life, we are healed. Now, in closing, let's go back to the example of faith that an acorn will become an oak tree. What is the thing that is necessary for this to happen? The acorn has to quit being an acorn. It has to let go of its acornness, just as the caterpillar has to let go of its chrysalis in order to fly away as a butterfly. Jonah had to let go of his self-will in the belly of the whale before he was freed. That's what we all want, is to be free. We don't want the storms of life to come and have to deal with. But we too have to have faith in our ability to be reborn. We must have absolute faith that we can let go of our old selves and be reborn and transform what we have the potential to be. That is true faith in terms of the first of the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore spoke of. Or, as the Course of Miracles says, I quote, "Have faith in only this one thing, and it will be sufficient. God wills you to be in heaven." Heaven on earth they're talking about. "And nothing can keep you from it or it from you. Your wildest misperceptions, your weird imaginings, your blackest nightmares all mean nothing. They will not prevail against the peace God wills for you. The Holy Spirit will restore your sanity, because insanity is not the will of God. His voice will be heard." The disciples said to Christ, "Increase our faith." How do we do that? We, as individuals now, so that we too can be healed and raised from a spiritual death. Have faith in our inner Christ consciousness, just as the pianist builds faith in himself through practice. Faith isn't just belief. Faith is the knowledge that the acorn will become an oak tree. We too can be raised from our incapacities and spiritual deaths when we have faith in our Christ consciousness, or our higher self, our inner divinity, and then let it guide our lives. Just turn everything over to your Christ consciousness. This is how we can develop faith. Verify, verify, verify. Do it. Watch the results. You'll have faith. There's your verification. Every character in the Bible is you. You are the epileptic who's going in different directions. You are Lazarus, who is dead sometimes. You are Jonah, who disobeys God's commands. But as soon as you have faith in your inner Christ consciousness, these higher laws in life, you too will be healed and enlivened. You too will have a more fulfilling and abundant life. That's the kind of faith Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about. If we believe in and live by the eternal laws of the unity of all life and the human family, we will see the beautiful results of that. Thus, we will have faith. We will have seen it and verified it. Even if we can't cure the whole world, we can certainly walk the talk and thus create a beautiful world in our immediate environment, and thus develop our faith that it's possible, because we'll see it. We here at Unity are a microcosm of the macrocosm, and we are proof that the unity that Dr. King had faith in, we verified it. That's why we have faith in it. We know it is possible. So our faith in that possibility should be strong because we see it. Bottom line, let's all work together on developing our faith by doing what it takes to manifest a better life and thus see the results and gain true faith. And that is certainly what you all deserve. Thank you.